Bonjour Toulouse. Namaste everyone. Let's start with an experiment. I request you all to kindly close your eyes. Imagine that we are sitting on the top of our favorite mountain. Gently go inside your heart and imagine a source of light within, illuminating your heart. Breathe calmly. Gently open your eyes. What we just did is a quick check-in with self that I swear by. It has helped me understand how transcendence works in life. To me, just living wasn't enough. I had to transcend my reality at every stage of my life. Now let's go back in time to understand it better. I was born in the central part of India in the city called Bhopal. My sister and I grew up seeing our mother prepare for her law school, help our dad with his business, and be a homemaker all at once. She also found time to help others, provided monetary funds, tried to provide awareness about education, and secured employment for numerous women. She used to say, we can always help others, no matter what we have and where we are. My father worked 2 jobs, often 16 hours a day and more. He never had a day off. We did not grow up in the fanciest of the neighborhoods, often suffered with sleeplessness and fatigue due to the noises outside in the night. But we had to live with it. Fortunately, we had the liberty to study in an English medium convent school with amazing teachers, facilities, sports, and competitions. Education was a luxury for us. I wasn't born with a golden spoon, but my parents sure gave me an intelligent one. When I was 11 years old, we were blessed with a baby brother, Prakash. Prakash's health was fragile, and he needed intensive care. My parents were always chasing doctors for better treatments. We loved him. He was a bundle of joy. And one day, we came back home to face a horrifying reality. He was gone. I was in a deep state of shock, as I could not understand and assimilate what had happened. We had been already through a lot of pain, and this tragedy added another layer to the endless melancholy of life. I began to think, how fragile is this life? Death was the only certainty, and maybe just living was undermining life's worth because it was precious. After some time, I talked to myself and said, I have a choice. Do I want to continue living this sad life or transcend this depressed state to a happier one and remember him with sweet memories? I began to read spiritual books about life and death and began my heartfulness meditation practice. It helped me see things differently and deeply. For instance, society was largely conservative, and there were deep-rooted traditions and norms that everyone blindly followed. Typically, all girls were believed to grow up and get married before a certain age to preserve their youthfulness, whatever that meant, to a package deal of a man, tall, handsome, well-settled, well-educated, with a great family. And to be a good match, the girl must satisfy certain criteria: great cooking skills, mastery in chores, and traditional beauty standards. I felt shackled and troubled seeing all of this. But these traditions and conditioning were deeply rooted in most of my surroundings. I had the urge to break these boxes and stereotypes and feel the freedom called life. On the other hand, I found my peace with my books, at school, and with my friends. I loved stars. And I also loved aircrafts and trails. Watching them in the sky was the most fascinating thing for me. Fortunately, my parents were supportive of our dreams. But they had to sacrifice a lot because of the lack of finances that we had. And we had to listen to a lot of noise from the society for being different. I remember once it was almost impossible to gather finances for my education, and my dad told me, "Okay, beta, if I have to, I will sell my kidney for your education." His words pierced my heart, and I felt so helpless. I pledged to overcome this, but I didn't know how to. I had nobody to look up to as an example. So I chose to follow my heart. I listened to it carefully. As I was good in studies and I loved learning, I gave it everything I had inside. I chose to excel in every subject of my choice. I loved science, English, horse riding, karate, and dance. And no matter what, I gave it all. I had to succeed. Then I learned about Airbus, and its humble origins made me really feel inspired. But how simple it was for me to dream a career in the aviation world. It appeared even more difficult for the others, who were ready and more than eager to tell me that I was being unrealistic about my dreams, just because I had a socio-economical background which did not satisfy the criteria. But nevertheless, I listened to my convictions, and they were a pure calling of my heart. I followed them. I began to prepare myself to be able to be ready for the engineering entrance examinations that are considered the most difficult in the country, as there are millions of young minds preparing for the limited seats in the university. I had no plan B. I worked hard, and fortunately, my hard work paid off. I got a seat in one of the best universities in the country that taught aerospace engineering. I again had several challenges to deal with, but by now, I learned to thrive with the hardships. I remember the words of my mother: "A lotus sure grows and blooms in the mud, but stays unaffected by it." I continued on my journey, and then came a turning point. I had secured a seat in ISAE-Supaero in France with a French government scholarship. And I felt such a relief inside, because now my parents didn't have to worry about any finances anymore. Everybody was appreciative of us. All those who had mocked us over the years for being unrealistic and whatnot were all recognizing the power of education. This gave me confidence. Meeting with the Prime Minister of my country was a big deal for me and my family. The felicitation ceremony by the ambassador of France to India was a big deal for me again. And more than that, the assurance on the face of my parents was my gratification. I came to France with a lot more confidence than before. And it was a big change. I loved Toulouse, right from the first cab ride from the airport to my student apartment. Now I had different challenges and a different journey ahead. I was in an international atmosphere with a fast-paced French education system, which can be very demanding and challenging. I was discovering a new life, new culture, new language, and of course, bureaucracy. As I spoke no word in French, you can imagine what sort of a gala time I had at prefecture and other government offices. They were making me more stronger than I believed I was. Of course, it was hard to withstand all these challenges, these changes, and simultaneously be good at my studies. I recall calling my mother and saying, "Mommy, it's just too much. I cannot sustain all of these changes. I don't know what to do." She said, "If it is too much, pack your bags and come back home. But don't stand in between yourself and your dreams." And I was shocked. I realized that of course it is hard and it is worth expressing your emotions. But is it more harder than what you have already lived? Just imagine how many people would be ready to be in my shoes and live the life I was living. And that gave me a sense of gratefulness. And I learned to live through my pain and find powers within. So every time I fall, I sulk a little, eat ice cream, and get up again, looking forward towards my goals. Finally, I bagged an internship at Airbus, and this was it. My first desk amidst the planes in the Airbus corporate jets. I was living it for real now. And since then, I never looked back. I have been working at Airbus at different capacities, and today as the youngest industrial architect. This has been such a learning experience. The woman I am today feels proud of the 12-year-old girl who did not succumb to the painful circumstances. She chose to live, she chose to smile, and that's why I'm standing before you. No girl in my family had ever come so far and struggled so much for her career. But today, one example is enough for the entire community and entire family to have hope and assurance. My own younger sister is living her dreams in her own terms and the way she wants. And I'm proud of her. The freedom that I have today, the freedom to make my career choices, my life choices, and to be independent in every way is such a contrast from where I began. When I went back to India last time, we were around 40 people gathered for a family dinner. Yes, we can be that many. I saw the look in the eyes of my cousins. They were so confident and motivated and happy that now they feel that they can if I could. Even their parents have an example to look up to, and they vouch for education more than ever before. Imagine these girls who were supposed to have a good marriage as their raison d'être are now determined to move to megacities and pursue their dreams. The fact that they have a choice is the biggest fulfillment for me. Now imagine if all of us here make our lives bigger than our own selves, transcending our limitations for a greater good. Just how beautifully will this community, this planet, and this universe can emerge out for an egregore of higher consciousness. Transcend your limits and weave a collective force for this world so that the future generations can live with peace. We say in Sanskrit, Vasudevaha Kutumbakam, which means world is a single family connected by the power of love. My purpose is to do something larger than my own self, transcending my limits every single day. So that when I look back, the future Neelam can tell, well done, young Neelam, with a cooler hairstyle, for the efforts you made and for whatever you did to make this world a beautiful place. Lastly, I would like to recite something in Hindi for my Prakash. मौसमों से क्या डरना जब आसमानों से रिश्ता जोड़ने का दृढ़ लिया है. खुद के लिए तो सभी जीते हैं, आज इंसानियत के लिए कुछ कर गुजरने का मन किया है. Ladies and gentlemen, transcend your limits. Have a good time. Namaste.